Hi, this is Kevin Deal from Upscale Audio, and today we're going to talk about the Revel F226Be loudspeaker. Oh man, I'm excited to do something on the speaker. I mean, we were rocking and rolling. I want to talk about when I was listening. I got to say something. Somebody asked in another video what watch I'm wearing, so today I am wearing an Omega Speedmaster. It's a broad arrow, but I'd love to say it's an original one, but it is not. I collect vintage Speedmasters, but this is a 60th anniversary Speedmaster, which I cherish very much. And then I go, oh, I'm going to be careful with it. And then the first day I wore it, I got 2 dings on the bezel, right? I mean, isn't that how God teaches you not to take things too serious, right? Isn't that how it works? But anyway, I dig that stuff. But what I really want to talk about is like the Rolling Stones. We were listening to the Rolling Stones on this, and that's when I knew I had something special, because the greatest and I want to know what your opinion is. The greatest Rolling Stones album ever is Some Girls. I was going to say Rocks, but that was Aerosmith. Some Girls. That is my favorite album. So many hits, so iconic to me in my high school years, and you know, when I was a senior, I guess, because that's when it came out, and I just, oh my God, I love that album. And some speakers, they fall apart. You know, they just have so many problems. They can sound really, really harsh, and this one did not. So what makes this speaker so special? What is it I always tell you? When I talk about things like Prima Luna or some of the other brands we hear, parts and engineering. You know, there was this guy, let me show you this. This is a magnetic grill, which is really, really super cool. This is not made with white to look cool, right? Revel is owned by Harman Industries, and they have real engineering chops. When this line was created, they had Mark Glazer, Dr. Sean Olive, Kevin Vakes helped to create the Revel, create that brand, you know, bring it to being. You know, Kevin Vakes is the dude, right? I mean, he's the guy. I mean, God, he helped to co-found Mirage. Oh, I used to sell Mirage back in the day. And then Snell, you know, and I mean, those Snells are a little hard to look at, but they sound good. But, you know, I mean, it's a real deal. And I look at something like that and I go, JBL was the first company that I can think of that had white woofers, right? But they did it for a reason, and JBL's part of the same group, Harman Industries. They used white woofers because of something that was called, as I recall, it's aquaplaz. And so that was a treatment that they used to make the cone stiffer, the paper cone stiffer, so it wouldn't break up, you know, hit the resonant frequency, you know, while it's playing music. But then everybody else started making just white woofers, right? And that was the funny thing, is like, these are white woofers. I mean, the white van truck speakers, remember those? You know, and then all the cheap house brands and the Fisher Studio Standard rack systems with white woofers. And everybody was copying what JBL had done for an engineering reason. God. Anyway, so this is a aluminum cone, right? And they have a process that they call this is called deep ceramic composite. And it basically, it's a constrained layer damping. And it is a process of them applying through a plasma discharge, as I recall. This is ceramic that is added to the front and the rear of the aluminum cones. And what you're doing by applying that is making sure that this stays light as possible, and it's very, very stiff. So you make sure that it can't break up at any frequencies that the driver is trying to operate at. That's what it's about. And they have succeeded with that. 2 6.5-inch woofers, and that's the thing about this speaker. It is a petite box. It's so easy to place in a room. They look smaller than they really are, and I think that that's why spouses respond to them so positively many times, because they're graceful in the home. This is a 5¼ inch mid-range driver. And just like What Hi-Fi said, when they reviewed this speaker, I mean, the mid-range is absolute perfection. It's perfect. It's unbelievable. I mean, the mid-band, and that's my hot button. You know, I mean, you know that you've been to my channel. I'm a freak about that. And having a mid-range that doesn't sound like this, you know, that doesn't have that elevated character to it. And it doesn't. It's got body to it. But then you got the very critical thing of what happens when the mid-range matches the tweeter. And that is what this is about. This is a waveguide and an acoustic lens, and it also is made of aluminum using the same process. And the reason for this is you want to make sure that there is not too much energy at the same frequency. You don't want to have beaminess where the mid-range and the tweeter meet. And then you want to make sure that you have really smooth dispersion as you move around the room, you know. So if you've got a good seat, the person over here gets a good seat, and the person over there gets a good seat. And that's what this is all about. And this is not happenstance, the way that it's designed. This is the 6th generation of that waveguide. That's what this company is about, right? Same thing with the tweeter. The tweeter is made of beryllium. It is 100% beryllium. It's not this faux beryllium that so many people use. They use vapor deposition over like titanium, and it's not the same thing. You know, beryllium is very expensive and very difficult to work with, but it is magic. I mean, here, these are mine. This is a beryllium tuning fork, which is very expensive. This is titanium, okay? And we're going to show you a measurement on the screen on how these two compare when it comes to continuing to ring once they are excited. And so this one will become silent in 30 seconds, and this will go on for minutes. Minutes. And that's the thing about beryllium and why it is so terrific for high-frequency drivers. But you got to make sure that, you know, no matter what speaker you buy, I don't care if you buy this or a tannoy or this or that, I don't care what you buy. You got to make sure you let it break in. Please, please. And the people that don't believe that, you don't have the experience that we have. You know, I mean, because it happens slowly over hundreds of hours. I have the benefit, we have the benefit of comparing a brand new speaker to one that has 100 hours on it or even 500 hours on it. And if I send a speaker out for review because we're a distributor, right, I want to make sure it's got 500 hours on it. You know, we sent one out recently with 200 hours, and I just wanted to shoot somebody because they do change. And people go, well, no, it doesn't, because I didn't hear it. It happens gradually. It's kind of like, you know, when you gain 20 pounds, it doesn't happen overnight. It's the same thing here. And the other thing is, I don't care what speaker you buy. You got to make sure that you position it properly. And you got to do it by ear. You can't do it with tape measures, flashlights, laser beams. We're going to give you the instructions and show you how to do it. It takes 2 people, period, end of story. But that is the only way to do it, because when you get that final adjustment and it's less than 1/2 inch, you got to be listening to it while somebody makes the adjustment, and then it just locks. And we'll show you how that works. Now let's talk about amplification. It's a 90 dB efficient speaker. It's easy to drive. Oh, here's a tweeter. I forgot. I had them send me this tweeter, and I wanted to see it because it is an unbelievable product. I mean, look at this thing. This is not tchotchke. There are dual magnets to this thing. It has another ring inside to help control inductance. I mean, this is the real deal from a real manufacturer. I love Revel. I love their stuff. They have not lost their soul. You know, some companies, when they get big, they lose their soul, and that has not happened here. All right, the speaker is an 8-ohm speaker, but the impedance dips down to about 3.2 ohms. What does that mean to you? It means it's good. These work great with any solid state amp that we have at Upscale Audio. I don't think I have any solid state amps that won't work well with. With tube amplification, I would say a single-ended amp, you know, if you don't listen very loud, fine. But I'd probably go with, you know, like maybe a 36 watt Prima Luna, you know, something like that, and you would be rocking it. They're pretty easy to drive, 90 dB efficient. The impedance, like I said, drops down to 3.2 ohms. Now here's the key, right? If you own a tube amplifier, I don't care what speaker you have. Don't pay attention to what the manufacturer says about impedance. If it says it's an 8 ohm speaker, it is not. You have to make sure that you try the 4 ohm tap on your amplifier and the 8 ohm tap, and do it with no assumptions. You got it, because that's how you get the handshake, right? You got to use the one that sounds best. And then lastly, this is a bi-wire speaker, so you can bi-wire it, but it comes with some nice jumpers. I don't have a dog in that fight about bi-wire or not, because everybody's got their own gig on it. I don't know that it's that big of a deal myself, but that's okay. That's up to you. Look, I love this speaker. The reason we dragged it over here is not because it's brand new. It's been out for a little bit. We dragged it over here because I frickin' love it. And I said, oh my God, this inspires me. You know, so talk to our non-commissioned salespeople. We want to make sure you're happy. There's nobody here that's going to try to sell you something. They're going to ask you the questions. They're going to help you get it right. If you don't love it, you can send it back. But you know, we don't want to send things out to have it come back. We want to help you to get it right. And that's why we call it, that's what we call it here at Upscale Audio. We're going to treat your system like it's ours. Thank you.